Hi, soft speaker Lynn, fairy godmother. As promised, I'm back reading from the Star Money. This part is for the parents. It's chapter 2, Europe's Cultural Roots in Ancient Indo-European Culture. When reading this tale, the main theme that I was struck with is that it is literally a lesson in karma. Now, it might be instinctual to recoil at that word in an ancient European context, as we consider it a foreign word native to Indian Hinduism. Of course, this is very true. However, an historical truth that many Westerners are oblivious to is that Europeans and Indian Hindus share a common linguistic and mytho-cultural heritage. I'm not asserting that the two groups are closely related or that they are remotely identical. However, both cultures stem from a Proto IndoEuropean source, which is the modern term for what had always previously been referred to as Aryan historically. The Aryans were an ancient culture that is thought to have originated in the Eurasian steppes, the area between Europe and Asia, before spreading outward in many directions. Proto IndoEuropean is used to describe the language, family, as well as the cultures that descended from this group of people. The ancient word Aryan meant noble ones, as they had been great conquerors and formed the ruling classes in regions widespread as Europe and India to Turkey and Iran. Here are maps. Indo-European migrations from 4000 to 1000 BCE, according to the Kurgan hypothesis, mapped by Joshua Jonathan. And also, on the other side of the page, a map showing the approximate present-day distribution of the Indo-European branches within their homelands of Europe and Asia by Wikimedia user Hayden 120. Pardon me. And of course, these books can be found on Amazon by Carolyn Emmerich. Iranian Persians were Aryans, and Zoroastrianism is the ancient religion that developed into an Indo-Iranian or Aryan cultural context. The Yazidi are an indigenous group found among the Kurds who still practice their ancient spirituality, and the Kalash people are a similar group who live in the mountains of Afghanistan. Both groups have Aryan origins. Both groups feature a cultural inheritance that stands apart from the Muslim majority in their regions. Both groups have been heavily persecuted by their neighbors. For Europeans, indigenous animistic polytheism or paganism is our own ancient native religious inheritance, which faced similar campaigns of violence during the conversion era of Europe, especially in the Wendish, Northern, and Baltic Crusades. Here's another map. Indo-European language throughout Europe and the Middle East, 500 BCE, by Wikimedia user D. Bachman. So therefore, while our own ancient religion did not have the ability to continue unabated in its full form, with temples, priests, and so forth, much of our ancient Indo-European beliefs were encoded and embedded within the folk tradition. The process worked differently from our Kalash and Yazidi cousins. Those groups survived as small pockets of tribal remnants who kept their culture intact, though sadly they are at risk of true ethnic genocide today. But it is in India where Aryan spirituality has been preserved and in the most intact way within Hindu tradition. Proto Indo-European is the mother language of both Sanskrit and most European languages. There are bits and pieces of European mythology that bear similarities to Hindu myth, and this is seen from Russia clear to Ireland. When cultures split and diverge, we see certain commonalities in the most ancient elements of culture, and then they begin to grow apart as separate and unique societies with individual differences. Of course, cultural diffusion can and does occur also, where cultures can adopt elements of a foreign culture through interaction by means of trade, conquest, enslavement, intermarriage, or geographical proximity. Historians and anthropologists can look at a number of things to ascertain if cultural commonalities occur due to diffusion, shared origin, or pure coincidence. In the case of native European and Indian Hindu culture, linguistic studies can corroborate mythical ties to lend credence to the theory of very ancient shared cultural heritage. As we saw in the three heads, ancient mythical figures can manifest in folk and fairy tales. Gods and goddesses sometimes shift to a fairy or some other being that is supernatural without the overt conception of God status. Now, here's a picture of a language tree. Language tree of Proto Indo-European languages. It's a good idea to just get the book if you want to study if you're interested in languages. This allowed ancient figures to carry on within the culture without disrupting the religious view of the ruling class, because we know that religious change occurred from the top down, which could land the peasantry in hot water with both church and secular authorities, which were often closely linked. Religion is often political, and that is as much true for previous periods of history as it is in our current epoch. Thomas the Rhymer showed us that certain aspects of pre-Christian spiritual practice were still engaged in post-conversion Europe. Thomas' journey and interaction with the Queen of Elfame, Elfame, not sure, I think there's maybe two pronunciations. The Queen of Elfame demonstrates not only the continuation of a goddess figure who lingered on in the folk tradition, but that there was still an intuitive understanding of shamanic practice living in and amongst the peasantry. And reading the star money strikes one as an overt lesson in karma. Here's a stamp, West German stamp illustrating the star money. And next chapter, I'll be reading in another stream soon. Did Europeans have a conception of karma? That's the next chapter with more pictures. Thank you very much for your time. Please listen again if you want to continue to learn and understand. Look up words that you don't understand, and you can learn a lot. So stay tuned, and please allow your children to enjoy just this short story. Thank you.